Hi. So, the book of Leviticus, I guess that would be a real challenge for anybody to consider ever doing a Bible study for a group of your friends or a group of people from church. I guess most people just think it can't be done. So, I gave a Bible study on Leviticus, just one chapter though, and I also gave a Bible study on one story in the book of Numbers, the story about Balaam. So without going into a lot of detail tonight, I want to just give you some advice about how you can at least grab people's interest when you start your presentation, and then grabbing people's interest, you can kind of take it to the next level. So I really believe there's really only one chapter in Leviticus that truly has a story, and that would be Leviticus 10, the story about Moses' nephews who are priests in training. And in this chapter, they don't do a sacrifice the way God wanted them to in accordance to their training, and God gets really upset, and on the spot, they're consumed in fire by God. So that's the one story in Leviticus that I did. And I think I really caught people's attention by providing some artwork for the story before we even started. Well, we prayed first, and then I think I gave like a really brief introduction what it was going to be about, just a really brief one, like a sentence or two. And then we took a look at quite a bit of the artwork that I found on the internet with Nadab, Abihu, the two priests, the two nephews. Also, of course, they were the sons of Aaron, Moses' brother, and the fire, and the temple, of course, where they were. So when you think about it, in a way, the fire was really almost like a character in the story, even though it's an inanimate object. So I thought it was really very important. I did provide numerous pictures that were in black and white, but then I made sure to get at least one that was in color, that had a really kind of bright orangish red or orangish yellow fire, just to kind of make things a little bit real for people, even though they were just drawings. And in all honesty, I think for this story I was looking for an example of fine arts. I don't really remember that I found anything that could have been hanging in a museum as far as I can recall. For the story in Numbers, I was able to find something which I'm sure was fine arts. But anyway, so that was the prop that I used for the story of Nadab, Abihu, Moses, Aaron, and the fire. Now, the story in Numbers that I picked, Numbers has a lot more choices than Leviticus. I chose the story of Balaam. Balaam was a sorcerer, a diviner, kind of an evil prophet, and someone who even had the ability to cast curses on people. And the king of Moab saw the Israelites great in number. I guess he felt threatened when he looked down from the hills and saw them below. I think he felt threatened or worried. He didn't even try to be friends with them or try to coexist. He just wanted to wipe them out. And so he hired Balaam to curse them. And Balaam had that complicated relationship with the king of Moab and also with God. Although he wasn't really the best follower of God at all, he kept telling Moab, well, before I go and do this, I need to be alone with God. I need to talk with God. And just about every time that he said he would do this for Moab, and Moab said he would pay him handsomely, he didn't. After talking to God, God convinced him not to do it. But at one point in the story, Balaam goes on a little trip with his donkey. And on this donkey, they come towards an angel in a flaming sword, an angel with a flaming sword that only the donkey can see. God has blinded Balaam to this angel, but the donkey can see it. And the donkey kind of is trying to protect himself and Balaam. He's kind of veering off course. He's not going straight ahead on the path that Balaam wants. And Balaam gets angrier and angrier, and he starts to beat the donkey, the poor donkey. And eventually the donkey actually speaks up and talks, just like a person, to Balaam, asking him why he's beating him. And if I may make an aside about this, I find it very curious that in this passage, Balaam doesn't act at all surprised that this donkey that he's riding can talk to him. He doesn't question it. He's not taken aback. Maybe he is. I mean, the Bible doesn't always show us everything that's going on. But I just found it really very curious, something that important. If Balaam was taken aback, if he was surprised that the donkey could speak, I would think the Bible would mention it. But who knows? Balaam was a sorcerer, as I said, so maybe nothing surprised him. But of course, then the donkey explains to him about the angel, and then God opens up Balaam's eyes, and Balaam can see the angel with a flaming sword, and then he repents, only temporarily, and he feels just awful, and he talks to God again, and I think God tries to tell him, you know, this isn't the way to be, and Balaam is disappointed in himself. And, you know, for a short time, Balaam behaves, but only to disappoint God again, and which ultimately leads to his death. But it was much easier to find artwork on this story. And as I was saying earlier, I found a lot of fine art for this story. So, and again, before we actually got into the story, or got really deep into it, we took a look at all the different pictures that I found. So I really think this is a great way, as I keep saying, to get people's interest, to get them in on the ground floor, and to go from there. I apologize that I'm not real tech savvy, that I can't kind of, along with this video, show you pictures at the same time. I know I should be able to do that, but I've come a long way with technology, and I'm much more savvier than I was, but this is not something that I can do just yet. So there's a whole lot more that we could say about this story, of course, but I wasn't really tonight wanting to allude to a lot of commentaries, give you a lot of style suggestions, or tell you go real deep into the message, is deeper than what I did. I just wanted to give you that idea and tell you that it was successful for me. So anyway, I hope that if you do try to do these two stories in a Bible study, that you can go really far with it. And thank you for listening. Bye.